The question came up over the break, can we map video onto these three-dimensional shapes? And so I'll just do a quick digression onto that. I'll make a new shape here. I'll just duplicate this. There's my second sphere. I'll put it in the center of the screen. And just going to make a little space here. I'll put it down here. I'm going to give it its own material. And then I'm just going to pipe my live camera image into that material. Just take the output of my jit.grab. I've created an outlet to p.camera, put it into the material, and now, let's see, I need to rotate XYZ here. Nope. There it is. And it looks like I want to rotate it on the x-axis and the y-axis. There's my live video mapped onto the sphere. Hello, world. Sure, that would be shape cube. And now I am on the cube. And I want my matte diffuse to be white here so that my image is not grayed out. And also it looks like it's just flipping me upside down, so I do a jit dot dim map at map 01, which is going to flip my vertical so that I'm right side up. Oh no, it didn't do that. Invert is what I want. There we go. So now, that's weird. The grid-shaped cube seems to flip every other face, but there's ways around that. I won't go deep into that right now. And then if you want to bring in a 3D model, rather than jit.gl.gridshape, it's jit.gl.model, which will initially erase everything, but then you can find any 3D model file. And a good place to find 3D model files is, I'll put it in a comment, it's on turbosquid.com. Lots of free 3D models on TurboSquid. And I'll just drag and drop a simple 3D model onto this. There. I don't even know what this is, but it's a 3D model and it has my face mapped onto it. In a not very intuitive way, unfortunately. I dragged it onto the jit.gl.model, but you can also use the read message to load in different models. So I'll search for .obj files on my computer, and here, let's see what that is. Yeah, so there's this cube torus object. So relatively easy to throw three-dimensional objects into your space. And I have some tutorials that go pretty substantially into that on my YouTube channel. I can point you towards those later. So let's get back to our visual synth here. Let's see, make sure it's still working. And so the next thing I want to look at is the concept of the low frequency oscillator, the LFO. Because LFOs are used in synthesizers to give additional character to sound. And we've looked at this a little bit previously. If we take a cycle tilde going at a low frequency, say 0.5, well, we'll just say 1 hertz, 1 time per second. We can take that. I'm going to convert my frequency here into a signal, just so we're dealing in all signals. I can multiply my cycle tilde by some small value and add it to my pitch. No, this is not going to work. I apologize. I want to actually multiply it by a larger value. Right, so we're hearing that oscillation of the cycle multiplied by 50 and added to the frequency that's going to my waveforms. So we hear that as an up and down oscillation in pitch. So that would be a pitch LFO. And using a float, we can change the frequency of the cycle to the left inlet. And I need to create a way to sustain these notes. So I'm going to go into monophonic mode. And here I can also change the amount of pitch variation. And this should probably be a float as well, so you can get fine-grained changes. So that is a frequency LFO, and we can certainly take the same LFO structure and apply it to anything else, like our frequency of our filter. I'll turn this one off for the moment. So you hear now it's not changing the pitch of the sound, it's changing the filter cutoff frequency twice per second and sweeping it back and forth by 1,000 hertz. And we'd actually want that to be represented in the color as well, so we'd need to modify this a bit. Probably just by adding this to the color snapshot. Let's see if that does it. So this is the filter LFO, and this is the pitch LFO. And additionally, we can add an amplitude LFO. And these don't have to be cycles either. Cycle is a simple sinusoidal waveform, but we can use a triangle wave, we could use a square wave, we could use a sawtooth wave, we can use sampled noise using the sample and hold object. There's lots of different options for your LFO. The thing that characterizes an LFO, the thing that's important about an LFO, is that it's low frequency. So these are high frequencies. You see here 392 hertz. We hear that as a pitch. But low frequencies like 1, 2, 5, 8, we're going to hear those as rhythms. So the low frequency oscillator, the low frequency part of that is that we're not dealing with sounds that are in the audible range. Now you can push them into the audible range, and that gets interesting, but that then becomes, it goes from being a pitch LFO to being a frequency modulation synthesis. For some reason, whenever I'm trying to record, there has to be somebody working with a jackhammer on my block. That is one of the laws of the universe, apparently. Here I should be able to just add this to my amplitude envelope. And we should see that as a change in scale. So you can add these LFOs to whatever parameter you want within the sound, and that gives motion to the sound in addition to the motion created by the envelopes.